1.5 million driving tests are carried out in Britain each year. And every day of every week, hundreds of learner drivers are preparing for the moment when they take their test. Some people approach the driving test with apprehension, but there's no need to be frightened. The only object of the test is to satisfy the examiner that you're able to drive a car safely and competently, whatever the traffic conditions. The test has been designed with this in mind, and there's a logical reason for everything you'll be required to do. Before the examiner asks you to drive, you must pass the eyesight test. This means reading a number plate at 25 yards, slightly less if it's a plate with smaller numbers. This is the minimum standard laid down by the law, and if you can't meet it, you won't be allowed to take the rest of the test. This may sound obvious, but people do turn up for the test unable to see properly. Once you're inside the car, the examiner will ask you to move off when you're ready. The correct sequence at this stage is very important. Check that the handbrake is on and the gear is in neutral before starting the engine. And show from the start that you understand the proper use of the controls. You must also show that you're on the lookout for other road users. Use the mirror and give a signal too if there's other traffic about. You'll first have a period of straightforward driving. This gives you a chance to settle down before the examiner asks you to do anything more complicated. Although you'll be asked to carry out certain special maneuvers during the test, most of it consists of showing that you can drive correctly in normal situations. The one maneuver that many people worry about is the emergency stop. So this is carried out early in the test to get it out of the way. It's obvious that you must have quick reactions and be able to stop quickly and under full control in an emergency, like a child running out into the road.
Stop!
The candidate reacted quickly, but he kept control so that the wheels didn't lock and skid. The examiner is asking the candidate to turn left. Keep well to the left as you approach and as you turn, and use a low enough gear so that you can drive around at the correct speed and avoid swinging out. Once again, you must follow the safe sequence of movement. Mirror, signal, maneuver. This is one of the fundamentals of good driving. The candidate has been asked to stop behind a parked car. Moving away from behind another vehicle requires good control and extra care. In this instance, the candidate doesn't make any signals by arm or flasher. Such signals are to warn other road users, and there's no point in giving them if the road is clear. The examiner will expect you to make normal progress during the test. This means keeping up with other vehicles that are traveling at a reasonable speed in relation to the existing road and traffic conditions. If you hesitate unduly or crawl along in a low gear, you can't expect to pass the test. The candidate is being asked to turn his car around to face the other way. The proper use of controls and all-round observation are vital when maneuvering in a small space. You must be able to judge the back and front of your vehicle in relation to the curb. There could be children, prams, and pedestrians passing by. If you overhang the pavement too much, you may hit them. Road signs are there for a purpose. You must watch out for them and act correctly. If you don't, somebody may be killed. Before emerging into any road, you should look right, left, and right again in case the traffic situation has changed. The examiner is going to test the candidate on the hill start. When you move off on a hill, the correct coordination of clutch, accelerator, and handbrake will ensure that the car doesn't stall or roll backwards. Now the candidate has been asked to turn right. Before you start this maneuver, you must look in the mirror to check the traffic situation and give the correct signal. Once you're sure it's safe, you can start changing course. Do this well before reaching the road junction. The correct position for the right turn is just to the left of the center of the road. And don't forget the final lifesaver look in the mirror before turning. Reversing. This isn't just a matter of moving the car backwards. Accurate positioning and continual observation for other vehicles and pedestrians are equally important. Drivers will often find themselves in a situation where they'll have to reverse accurately in a crowded street or narrow road. These are the driving maneuvers you'll be asked to do. And the test ends with questions on the highway code and other motoring matters. The examiner is not out to trap you, and the questions are simple and straightforward. Knowledge of the code equips you to deal with many of the problems you meet on the road. Apply its rules whenever you drive. This candidate has passed the test because he drove competently and safely. Much of the credit for this is due to his instructor. If a driver has been given good tuition and enough of it, he should have no difficulty in passing the test first time. Now he can throw away his L plates. But this doesn't mean that he can tear up the highway code and forget the rules on which the driving test is based. This test is not just a hurdle to get over before you can have a driving license. It is the basis of all safe driving. And all drivers, however experienced, should be putting its principles into practice every time they climb behind the wheel of their car. This man has held a license for 20 years. If we go with him on his way to work, we shall see that he's doing many of the things that you will be asked to do during the driving test. He didn't need to wear glasses when he took the test, but his eyes have changed, and all drivers are responsible for ensuring that they can meet the legal eyesight standard whenever they drive. As there are no other road users around, he doesn't need to make any signals by flasher or arm. A good driver always thinks ahead and anticipates the possibility that other road users will do something foolish or dangerous. That's what happens when a driver doesn't give that final look to the right before emerging at a road junction. When the lights change, the waiting cars will have to do a hill start. That's the result of not coordinating clutch, accelerator, and handbrake on a hill. Our driver didn't stop too close to the car in front of him, so he has no difficulty in maneuvering his car out of the line and continuing on his journey. Now our driver is going to turn right. Before he does so, he uses the mirror, signal, maneuver routine. Watch it. The driver of the other car didn't use any routine. He just pulled over to the right without looking or signaling. Even now, he's probably unaware that he nearly caused an accident. When turning left, our driver keeps well over as he approaches and doesn't swing out as he takes the corner. When traveling behind another vehicle, our driver kept a safe distance and adjusted his speed accordingly. If he'd been traveling too close, the quickest reaction in the world wouldn't have prevented an accident when he did an emergency stop. Next time, let's hope the lorry driver makes sure his load is properly secured. Although this driver does this journey every day, he doesn't drive automatically. By concentrating and thinking ahead, he's continually demonstrating the logic on which the driving test is based. And this goes on until he reaches his destination. In a case like this, someone has to give way. It's not a sign of weakness to be the driver who reverses. Accurate reversing is often necessary on today's crowded streets. That's why you have to demonstrate during the test that you can do so safely. During the test, you also have to turn your vehicle around in a restricted space in order to show your mastery of the controls, judgment of vehicle size, and safe observation. The same skills apply to any maneuver in a narrow area like this. Locking your car when you leave it isn't part of the driving test, but it's the logical thing to do if you don't want the car or its contents stolen. It's also the sign of a methodical and thoughtful driver. Now he's gone and spoilt it all. Of course, the driver of the parked car was at fault. He didn't look behind him when he opened the door. But our driver was just as much to blame. He wasn't looking where he was going, something he'd never have dreamed of doing behind the wheel of his car, where he was consistently driving safely and considerately. And that is what the driving test is all about. It's a realistic assessment of safe and considerate driving. The same two principles that all drivers should apply throughout their driving lives, which will be long if they always apply them.